Hello and welcome to Hot Pursuit, part of Ahval's podcast and video series. This one is to pay tribute to one of Turkey's most prominent political prisoners, Mr. Osman Kavala. Ottoman Turkish Association, a group based in west coast of the United States, under the auspices of University of Davis, assembled a virtual meeting on the occasion of Osman Kavala's 64th birthday on Friday, October 1st, assembling a group of friends, academicians, experts, human rights activists, and observers and monitors, and old friends of Osman Kavala. This occasion was, of course, not only to mark Osman Kavala's birthday, but also his case, which is a burden, a big pain for all those who watch Turkey's story with great concern and anxiety. Osman Kavala was arrested on October 18, 2017, and ever since then, he has been kept behind bars. So in about 2 weeks, he will have spent 4 years in prison. Also, on October 8, there will be another trial, another hearing of his case, this time in a larger context. Prosecutors assembled several dossiers, several files into a bigger case file about Gezi protests. Osman Kavala is indicted for overthrowing the government, among other accusations. So friends, academicians, his monitors all assembled and share their views about Osman Kavala. And it is as part of the duty of Ahval to make this case and to keep this case as public as ever. So let's listen to what they have to say.
Basically, we've seen, as Asana described, that his case has been subjected to these disjoiner decisions, disjoinder decisions and merger decisions, with case files sort of separated and then joined together again. And now his case has been merged with a case against football fans. And I think for those who don't follow it closely, this deserves some explanation. That Osman Kavala was tried in a case of 17 defendants, including him, and now is after the new merger of his case file with the case file against football fans, is going to be in a trial of 52 defendants, which of course makes the proceedings much longer. And this trial concerns football fans who had a protest during the Gezi Park protests in 2013. And this protest was on the 16th of June 2013 in a place some kilometers away from Gezi Park in Taksim. And it was a slightly rowdy protest, but a very limited protest. And these football fans who were involved got charged with essentially a coup attempt, but they were all acquitted. Then the case file was forgotten about for years. None of us were even aware that it existed, this case file. And then it was resurrected in order to be merged with Osman Kavala's case to extend and prolong his detention. And I regard it as just a pure excuse to be able to keep him detained, that they've produced this dormant case file and it's suddenly been taken down from some shelf in the High Court and resurrected, as it were. Right as far as the implementation of the European Court decision, two things to say. The European Court decision is a really profound one of the most important decisions concerning Turkey that's been made. It says that the Osman Kavala has been kept in detention for political reasons, that it's an abuse of power, it's an abuse of his rights, and the European Court very rarely says that. It calls for his immediate release. It's been 7 decisions have been made by the Committee of Ministers that's in charge of supervising the implementation of the decisions of the court. And the Committee of Ministers, and that's the deputy ministers of the Council of Europe member states, get together in sessions and they make these decisions. And they've said 7 times, in the case of Osman Kavala, plus a resolution calling for his immediate release. They've now said that if Turkey does not release Osman Kavala by the next session, which is in December, they will notify Turkey that infringement procedures are starting. And infringement proceedings, it's a rather theoretical academic sounding concept, and it's rather long, but it's very unusual. It will be the 2nd time it's used in the history of the Council of Europe. And that is very significant. It's been used once before against Azerbaijan, but if it's used against Turkey, it will certainly show the total shame of Turkey's justice system. A final point is that the deprivation of liberty of Osman Kavala is not just about one man. This is a case that goes far beyond that. It concerns thousands of people who are unjustly detained in Turkey and who are subject to a criminal justice system which is entirely now under political control. And it represents in many ways, his case, the huge collapse of the rule of law in Turkey. So we will carry on working for his freedom and hoping that the strong decision from the Council of Europe Committee of Ministers will push Turkey finally to make the right decision and to release him from detention. Thank you very much.
He's in jail. And it's very unfortunate that, again, he will have to celebrate his 4th birthday, like you said, Milena, probably in jail. And I just think that the world is missing one of the kindest men I've ever met. Many of you refer to him as a bridge builder. I would also say a peace activist, someone who truly is a Democrat. But also Turkey misses perhaps its best ambassador, because I have traveled to many cities around Europe, or whenever I went to the US, and there has never been a city where I came, for instance, on a panel on Turkey, where people didn't know Osman Kavala, or where there was a big cultural house in Berlin or in Paris, or here in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, where people didn't do in the past years projects together with Osman. So I very much hope, like all of you, that there is still some decency left, that there is still some feeling of justice left, and that Osman will be soon again with his close ones, with his loved ones, with his family who dearly misses him, with his friends, and that perhaps with these panelists, next year's birthday, we can celebrate it with him among us. Of course, I was waiting for a person from Turkey to answer this question, but there's probably no one dares to answer the question. Let me say how I look at it. I think a lot more attention should have been given from the start, not just by political parties, but also by the business community in Turkey about Osman's imprisonment. And for all kinds of reasons we can understand or not understand. Yes, of course, there have been voices, but I'm sure the people living in Turkey know it much more. But it should have been much more vocal. Because whoever I spoke to, for instance, from big business associations in Turkey in the last years, everyone knew Osman and everyone was concerned and thought he was unjustly imprisoned. The same people saying this behind closed doors are not saying it out in the public. I met so many Turkish diplomats who are ashamed for Osman being in prison. But it's the same people who don't dare to say this out loud. And I think the same applies for many parts of Turkish society. And it's not for me to judge. I don't live in Turkey. I would not face any consequences of speaking out, except for some press headlines in Turkish media. So I'm not judging people who don't do it living in Turkey, but I think, the answer, actually, the question, the person asking the question probably already knew the answer, that yes, I think there should have been much more vocal voices from main political parties, from civil society. There have been always, as you can see tonight as well, but also from business, and it has been much too silent to my taste.
Osman has been in prison for, you mentioned, almost 4 years, in which he has lost for the moment his life, the company of Aise, his family, his friends, the people from the foundation, with no reason. There is a legal explanation for everything, but this is no lawful reasons to have Osman in jail. Much to his regret, he has become a symbol for all that should change in Turkey, but is not changing in respect to the rule of law and independence of the judiciary, of the upholding of human rights. His case is, for me, and for many of my colleagues in the parliament, a litmus test on the real sincerity of the Turkish authorities to change things and to become again on the path of to become a democracy in some way. And unfortunately, the result of this test is a failure, painfully clear at that very moment. There have been recently some statements trying to, again, to seduce the European public opinion or the European institutional bodies. But for the European Parliament, and I'm happy to join here Kasia and Sergei Lagodinsky, my colleagues, for the European Parliament, this path will be hindered for as long as Osman continues in jail. In contravention has been clearly said of international commitments of Turkey. This is not, like sometimes is depicted, an attempt to use some colonialist pattern to introduce things in a nation as Turkey. Turkey committed to the Council of Europe principles, and Turkey has failed because it's not abide on the ruling of the European Court of Human Rights and the Committee of Ministers of this international organization. I haven't had yet the opportunity to personally meet Osman. I have no personal feelings or personal memories of that most of you have, but I will be next Friday in Istanbul with Aise and with the colleagues. Some of you, I assume, to attend the hearing. Not only for my personal solidarity that Aise knows is part of my role, and I take gladly, because to show clearly to the public opinion in Turkey, this is a testimony of solidarity of the European Union. And I think we want really to see Turkey as it was in not so far in time to become a modern country, deciding as a society to become a more mature democracy. But what we have is that kind of charade, judiciary charade that has been depicted by Asena and Emma and Milena. But what we want really from the European Union, and especially I have to say, and luckily I have to say that distinction is to put the issue of the human rights at the center of the relation of the European Union with Turkey. Okay, we could have a partnership on economy, on geostrategy, but for the European Union, and especially for the European Parliament, we will never accept any kind of progress in the relation with Turkey if it's not accompanied by real democratic reforms. And for us, the best step and the first step in this path has to be the release of Osman. I would like really to join you all the day we are receiving Osman in the street of Istanbul. Thank you.
Kavala has become a code, a sort of my Carthago must be destroyed moment. I repeat his name in all my speeches on Turkey. We have forgotten what it means to face heroes and to have heroes among us, not someone who are already gone, but people who are alive among us, who walked with us on the streets a couple of years ago, and suddenly we see they're not just people, they're heroes. We thought we were living in ages of authoritarians, but actually we're living in ages of heroes. And this gives us hope. When we see how many people have become heroes in Belarus, in Russia, but also in Turkey. And Osman Kavala embodies all the heroes of Turkey without being pathetic and without being over dramatic, just doing his things and sticking to his principles and staying true to himself. Him and also Aisha, his wife, who walks with him this very difficult road and who's always there when I need a piece of advice or I want to consult on further political actions. So Osman embodies my favorite Turkey, the Turkey that we all are longing for, that we're missing, and that we are fighting for, each of us in a different way. And my way of waiting and working on this Turkey is also to sticking to the European future of Turkey. And I'm one of the few people, and we're one of the few political groups in the parliament by now, who still believe that accession process is not dead yet, that it is frozen, rightly so, but that we need to keep the door open for the future, and that the future will be a better one, and that this future will be dominated by people like Osman Kavala, who will be free and will be walking with us in the streets. And we will maybe at some point even forget that they were heroes some days, because they just become free and active and normal like us.
I met Osman 10 years ago when I was working on various Armenian-Turkish dialogue initiatives, including supporting the one Carsten has mentioned about cultural heritage, Armenian cultural heritage in Turkey. And it soon became evident when you were working on those issues that there was one person who was indispensable in Turkey, who knew everyone, who knew all the issues and had enormous humanity, wisdom, drive, and philanthropic intention. And that, of course, was Osman Kavala. You know, we forget that 15, 20 years ago, Turkey was in a very different situation. Suddenly, those blank pages in Turkish history were filling up. People were talking about those issues, about what happened in Turkey in the early 20th century, the destruction, complete destruction of the Ottoman Armenians that Sona was referring to, that her family suffered, the deportation of the Pontic Greeks, the long persecution of the Kurds. All those issues were suddenly being talked about. And as the wonderful Armenian-Turkish writer and editor Hrant Dink said, it wasn't that Turkish society as a whole was denying those issues, they just simply didn't know about them, that this was just, there was no knowledge about them. And Osman Kavala began filling those gaps with these extraordinary initiatives, creative initiatives, mentioned of exhibitions, of films, publications. He then, when I wrote the book on Armenia and Turkey issue, he immediately had it published in Turkish by Iletişim. The meeting we had in Salzburg, when I was able to get Osman there, and then he brought this wonderful cast of people with him, including two wonderful Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriot gentlemen who worked together, who inspired us all. He's an amazing catalyst for other people. So I can't say I know him very well, but I met him so many times in those years, and we coined this term, the Salzburg group, and FOO, Friends of Osman. And so I also hope that I'm a friend of Osman. I've been writing to him in jail from time to time, sending him books occasionally, and he writes the most wonderful letters from his cell. His mind is alive. He's reading those books, and I encourage others here also to do that. I think that's a good way of being in touch with Osman Kavala, to send him reading material. So I'm also very honoured and glad to be with you here today, and like everyone else, deeply want to see this injustice reversed. The injustice not only of Osman's case, but thousands of others in Turkey who he really exemplifies. And I hope that we just can keep his case in people's minds and don't let the Turkish authorities put it under the carpet and forget about it.
I will try to tell him about your meaningful messages and all the beautiful things that you've said about him. I know it will be very difficult, but I will try anyway when I see him next week in Silivri before the hearing on Friday. And I really hope that we will be all together soon enough to celebrate. Although I'm trying not to be hopeful, hoping and then being disappointed is very difficult. And I experienced that quite a few times during these 4 years, but I still hope that we'll be together to celebrate. Thank you. Thank you very much.
This was Professor Ayşe Burra, Osman Kavala's wife, who in great torment has been following his case, and with full of expectations and hope, of course, there will be a release. His case has also been closely followed by Council of Europe. Recently, the Committee of Ministers of Council of Europe gave a stern warning to Erdogan government, to Ankara, for his immediate release, and the time given for this decision was extended until the end of November, until the next meeting of the Committee of Ministers. We shall see the consequences or repercussions of such a call, and also before that, we are all waiting to see what will happen in the hearing on October 8th. So we have only conveyed only a short part of this almost 2-hour-long virtual meeting, where a lot of people appeared and gave their views. So Hot Pursuit ends here with the hope that one of Turkey's thousands of political prisoners, a prominent one, a civil society activist, a philanthropist, a peacemaker, finds at the end of this 4-year period, nearly 4-year period, freedom. Thank you.